Hello world, Christina here, and today we're going to draw the second of two t-shirt drawings that I'm doing for a friend of mine in the haunted attraction community. So let's just jump in and get started. Alright, so if you saw my video from last week, you'll kind of see the same basic approach to this one as the one from last week. If you haven't seen last week's video, feel free to go hop over there and come back. You don't necessarily need to see it, but it is a little bit helpful to understand my process. So with this one, basically I started in my sketchbook again, did a sketch in pen, and put Sharpie over it to kind of help my friend see exactly what I was trying to get at in the drawing. My friend really liked the designs that I put together right away, so I didn't have to do tons and tons of iterations. So I just went into Photoshop and I started tracing what I did in my sketchbook on a transparent layer just in black, and started just doing the inking right away. It's really not a tough process, but with this one, compared to the one that I did last week, I tried to go for a comic book kind of feel with it, and I really wanted it to feel like a vintage kind of poster rather than a more modern one, unlike the deer skull from last week, which was more of a modern take on haunted attraction art. This one was supposed to be more geared towards a sort of comic book, vintagey kind of feel, and that's where the big, like, barky, spiky kind of bubble behind the characters came from. That seems to be a very vintagey thing, and I also used a brush that came with Photoshop in order to put a sort of like dotted shading in there. So you'll see that a little bit in the design, and it might show up a little bit different depending on what kind of screen you have, but just know that that is a brush that you can find in the default Photoshop brushes. I will say that my computer is just a laptop. I bought it for school purposes, and so it doesn't have a lot of processing power. So a problem that I ran into when I was drawing this design is that my computer could not handle both recording the drawing and drawing the drawing at the same time. So I get to probably 3/4 of the way done with this design, and all of a sudden I couldn't really record it anymore. Fortunately, I did save at different points in time to kind of show my progress, so I'll put that behind me when it gets to that point. But really, otherwise, this was a very smooth design to do, and I ended up getting a lot of feedback from my client, and you know, he kind of directed me on how to handle the one character's arms, the character with kind of like tufts of hair at the side that come down. Apparently his name is Dr. Satan. Love it. And he is supposed to have these armatures on his arms that are really spooky, scary, gross, that kind of are a trademark of his character, and that wasn't something that I actually saw on the reference photos that my client gave me. So he kind of explained what he was looking for there, and it helped me kind of figure out what to do with the character's hands, because what do you do with your hands when you're on a t-shirt? Who knows? Let's talk about a little bit of the thought process behind the design. So my friend, my client, sent me just a whole ton of reference photos, which was awesome. always do that. If you're looking for some art, always give the artist a ton of reference photos, very specific stuff. It helps so much. But I digress. And so I had to stitch together one design that was for the entire haunted attraction and one design that was made for basically celebrating some of the characters that are in the haunted attraction. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with haunted attractions, usually you'll have actors that come back year after year, and their characters will also come back year after year. So there are sometimes characters that are very specific to one haunt in particular, and it'll be a source of pride for that haunt. So it's very important that they celebrate some of their characters. And my client sent me a whole bunch of character pictures from their haunt, and you know, some of them were a little too blurry to really use and that sort of thing, but I think by putting them in a comic book style, it really cleaned things up a bit, and I think that I chose 3 characters that really showed a variety in the different scares that you can get at Haunted Hollows Scream Park. I think that it's really important to also celebrate women in horror, which was why I was kind of excited that my client had given me a bunch of reference photos of this one female character. It seemed very important that this female character be a part of the design, and so I put her in, and it just kind of happened that she ended up a little bit bigger and higher up, kind of looming. She really felt like a character that demanded a presence that way, and so I thought she really fit the bill being in that position design-wise, and I really enjoy celebrating women in horror because, you know, women don't get enough credit as it is. I really love horror because, you know, you can be anything. So can't complain too much, but I do love to celebrate it. I'm trying to think of what else to really tell you here. I went through a few different iterations of just what to do with Dr. Satan's hands and how to handle the titles on the page. At first I wanted to do a bubble that said Scream Park, but because of how the female character's head lines up with the top of the design, it didn't really work out that it was balancing very well, so instead I put Scream Park at the bottom, and then we went back and forth a little bit on what font to use. I thought we should use the little bit skimpier font that I originally put on there just because that's what I saw on a lot of the vintage posters that I used as reference photos, but we ended up going with the actual Scream Park's logo version, and it turned out really well, so I'm definitely not complaining. But anyway, that is my second design for Haunted Hollows. It sounds like I will be doing a couple more of these designs in the future, so hopefully I'll get to really share those with you, but in the meantime I'm going to be working on doing a color version of this design for Haunted Hollows and just doing some other personal things behind the scenes. I've got some character commissions to tackle at some point, and all sorts of other ideas floating up in this noggin. So with that being said, thank you so much for getting this far in the video. You'll get 1,000 experience points because why not? These are arbitrary numbers in case you haven't been following along. And yeah, thank you so much for getting this far. Please show the video some love. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends because your friends are cool people. I'm a cool person. You know, awkward nerd stuff. And if you haven't yet, please check out my Patreon. I post there at least once a week with a video of how I'm doing and what I'm doing behind the scenes. But lately I've been posting more than once a week, usually 3 or 4 times. So please go check it out. If you can support me, please do. And it really helps me keep doing what I'm doing here. Keep an eye out for a new video. I've got so many ideas just running around in this noggin, so I'm not sure exactly which one will come out next week, but I have so many already filmed. I'm so excited. And again, thank you so much for getting this far. I will talk to you guys next Wednesday, and stay safe and healthy, and don't forget to love each other. Peace.